thank you so much for joining us today on my show called Inspired Blessings with Jean Marie Prince. And I have two guests today, Melissa and Doug. They wrote a book called The Journey from Mama's Babies. And it was such, I actually started to read the book, and I didn't get a chance to finish it, but I can't wait to finish it. But I want you to be able to be here to kind of explain to everybody how God has blessed you 4 times.
That's
okay?
Right, you did.
Yes, and it's a great story. So, you know, Melissa, I want to find out, first of all, like your occupation prior to the blessings, and also, you know, how you actually also met Doug along the way.
Well, before bringing home the children, I was in the military. I'm actually still serving in the military, just on a part-time basis now.
And thank you for that.
Oh, you're welcome. It's been over 20 years.
Wow, over 20 years.
But, I was serving in the military when we brought the kids home.
Right.
And I actually met Doug through some mutual friends. He was the coach of my my friend's children, and she introduced us.
Right. Wow. You didn't know what you were in for, did you?
No. No.
But you realized it was a blessing. Yeah. What was your desire? Let's say, for instance, in the fact that you know, you get married, and what were you thinking? What your future was going to be?
Well, Doug knows. We met and got married in about a year.
Okay.
And he knew once we got married, I immediately wanted to start to have a family, and he knew I wanted a large family.
Okay.
At least 4 kids. So I think he was a little shell-shocked.
Do you
by
come
some
from
of
a
that.
large family?
I do. I have 3 siblings myself.
Okay, good.
You know.
And are you the only child?
No, I have a twin brother and an older brother. So
Oh, okay.
Two siblings.
All right, so you're used to some people in the house.
Yeah.
That's great. And so you were saying?
And so he knew we wanted to start our family right away.
All right.
So.
Did you have any preference to whether it was boys or girls, or just
Nope.
it didn't matter, right?
Nope. Just have a house full of pitter-patter.
That's great.
You know, be a stay-at-home mom.
Right. So when you started to try to conceive, what
Yeah,
happened?
well, you know, like everybody else, we just tried to have children on our own, and after a period of time, we realized it wasn't going to happen naturally, so we just felt God led us on another path, and we let that natural childbirth way pregnancy go, and we just decided to adopt.
Now I know that you have other couples who feel that in their heart they want to have their own biological child, so they go for the in vitro, but you didn't really have that desire?
No, to be honest, because my goal in my life was to become a mom. My goal was not to become pregnant.
Okay.
You know, so however that mom came, however God said, you know, this is the way it's going to be. I always worked with children. I love children. Doug always worked with kids as a coach and as a mentor.
Right.
You know, so having children in our lives and to be parents was our goal, not a pregnancy.
Right. Well, that's good. So it wasn't as detrimental as it could have been,
Right.
as well as financially it could have been very damaging.
Right.
Because, you know, you just hear too many in vitro stories, and it's sad.
It's tough to listen to a lot of them.
Yeah.
You know, I'm grateful that when it wasn't happening naturally, it's just, we truly felt that there's another path for you. This is the way it's going to go.
Right.
And that's the path.
And it
we
happened quick, you know.
Right.
We made the decision, and then
Sure.
it just turned, the page turned, and we went.
We were married about 14 months when we made that decision to adopt.
Okay,
so.
that's great. No,
Yeah.
because, you know, one of the stories, I wrote 14 stories in my book, and one of the stories happens to be a husband and wife who couldn't, you know, have children, but how they desperately tried in vitro, and how she really explains, you know, the problems, the anguish, and things like that. And now I feel really bad, you know, not realizing how bad,
Difficult.
you know, yes, how sad it was, you know, to think you are, and then to find that it didn't work.
Right.
And then the cost factor on top
Right,
of that.
right.
So yeah, so that's great that you guys were able to put that aside and realize the fact that, hey, let's just adopt.
Yeah.
And what were we thinking off the bat? Let's adopt out of the country and let's have kids. So how did that come about?
It took a little research.
Yeah.
I did a lot of research on domestic adoption versus international adoption, and then I started reaching out to people that I worked with within the military community that I knew adopted, both domestic and international. And basically, I just compiled all of my research and put it on the table and decided, you know, international was the best way for us.
Okay.
You know, either way would have been fine, but in our situation, it would have just been better to go overseas.
Right, right.
You know.
I know the way, because I shared with you how my life story and how I was found 2 days old in a bathroom, and so I lived in an orphanage until I was 5 years old. But my adopted family, actually, what they did was, the Massapequa Mall, all right, they had the tables out there, and basically, so the orphanage, Holt Orphanage, actually had a table out there, and that's how they came across it.
Okay.
Because sometimes I guess you could do a lot of research to find out what kind of orphanage should I, go with, because which one can you trust as well?
Right. It's difficult. You have to do a lot of research and make sure that the agency that you choose fits. And actually, I'll let you tell how it came about, because Wide Horizons was the first agency big meeting, official meeting, if you want to put it that way, that we went to. And Doug knew we were going to go the route of adoption, because that's what I kind of put us on the path to. But he had his, he was a little unsure, I guess. But there's a reason we went there.
Yeah, we went to a meeting. Well, we went into town, went to a meeting, and it was just an informational meeting. And we sat at a table, and the social worker, Charlotte, was telling her story.
Right.
And she had her pictures and her experiences. And you saw firsthand, it wasn't just someone out of the blue telling you about adoption. It was someone who went through it and showed us the pictures. And, you just, when you hear something and you're listening, and then it sounded right. And it felt right. And her story was really our launching point,
Right.
And it was it was actually our first meeting, our first thing we saw, our first experience with any kind of adoption, at least for me.
Right.
And I heard her story, and I walked out feeling pretty confident that we could move forward.
Right. Well, you know what is that it takes a rare parents, rare people, I'm saying, that want to, first of all, adopt, to take the responsibility of, somebody, like a stranger, in some ways. So I feel the fact that how lucky your children, that you guys had such a loving, that you just wanted to love them. You didn't care.
Right.
You really didn't care, I don't know how you went to 4, though, because so far in the book, I'm only at 3. Okay. Okay. I was thinking that you were adopting 3. So I don't know how that came about. So I don't even know, if somehow the story ends up being a little bit different. Too bad I'm interviewing you, because I really want to without having to.
But just to your point, it's true about people that adopt. Anybody can be a parent.
Yeah.
Anybody can give birth to a child. But it takes special people that truly feel the need that they can love any child.
It's a choice.
And it's
that
a
you guys are
choice
making.
that we made. And
Yes.
we knew we can love any child without reservation.
Right.
Because again, our goal was to become parents, not give birth.
Yes.
So that is an important point.
And the process is
The
really
process
a
is
leap of
grueling.
faith.
It is, and it's grueling, and it's a leap of faith.
Yeah,
you have
you-
to.
Well, some parts that I've been
Trust
reading and just
in-
trying to get to, and actually, I thought when you were going there, the initial, I thought you were actually coming to bring them home. I didn't realize it was just to kind of meet them.
Right.
Oh, that's how the process is.
You talk about time, expense.
Right. It's very expensive. It's a lot of time. It's a lot of faith.
It's a lot of faith.
What
was your faith?
You have to. I mean, it was a struggle, because you're doing all this paperwork and you're doing everything right. The agency says do this, you do it immediately. My world became this adoption for the children, and it gets frustrating at times. But he's doing this because he's got an ultimate plan.
Yes.
He knows there's a plan. He knows you're going to get through it. He knows you're going to push through, and we're going to have a beautiful family that we've always wanted.
All right. Now, was there any kind of Bible verses that was helping you get through that?
Well, Matthew 18:5 is the one that we know, because we're all God's children.
Sure.
And we just feel that if God says, take in these children, then you're taking me in too.
Right. It kind of says, like, anyone who welcomes a little child like this on my behalf is welcome me.
Right. And it's true, because you have to have faith that he's leading you down a path that's the proper path that he wants you to be on.
Yeah.
Well, how do I say this, though? Most parents would, adopted parents would take one at a time, but you told us all at once.
We
It was a
started.
go ahead, no.
It was a process. We initially, when we set out on this mission, It was to adopt two. We knew we wanted a group of four. You know, well, 4 children.
Oh, did you?
I always wanted to have at least 4
Okay,
children.
sure.
But we figured 2 at a time would be reasonable.
Yeah, right, right.
way to go about doing that.
We were going to definitely adopt a sibling group
Okay.
going into the process.
Except that we were expecting more of a sibling
2 at
group
a
of
time,
2 to
yes,
2,
yes.
and then in a few years settle in
See how it goes and
Right.
try again.
Right.
Right.
That wasn't God's plan.
That it wasn't. He referred us twins, and for reasons only he knows, I think he had a bigger plan for us. That adoption did not go through.
Oh, so that what I'm reading, okay, that's what I'm thinking.
Yes, in the book it's a chapter called The Miscarriage.
Right, okay.
When we lost the referral of the 2 children. But again, he had a bigger mission for us. He said, well, wait a minute. I know I'm going to have another sibling group that's going to be even more difficult to place.
Right.
They're older. There's more of them. You know, and he knew that we would be the ones to take on that mission and to go forward with it.
Wow. Now, I know how a mother, how the females, let's say us, you know, wanting to be the mothers and how desperate, and that's our passion, that it could be so consuming. As a husband, okay, and seeing this, how did you take this?
The miscarriage?
No, I'm talking about just dealing with your wife.
It's a roller coaster, up and downs. I took most of the calls and everything, and it truly is. It truly is a roller coaster ride.
Sure.
I mean, you get good news, and then you get bad news.
Right.
It's up and down, nonstop, up and down. You're afraid. Sometimes you're anxious for the phone to ring, and then you're afraid to pick it up.
Right. Sure.
You know, because you don't know what kind of news you're going to have. Like when we got the referral for the 2, it seemed right to me because I am a twin.
Okay.
You know, and
Sure.
you're going through this process. You're a little nervous, and then all of a sudden you're getting twins.
Yeah, it's a comforting
It seems
to
like,
know
oh,
that.
you know, this is great. And then you go on, and then I guess it was maybe 2-3 weeks later we found out. And Melissa wasn't even home at this point. She was actually away on military duty. So I get the call that it fell through. You know, something happened and it fell through. And it's just, you know, you can't even be there to comfort her. It's up and down. You know, you're giving her good news and then bad news. It's tough, and it's a roller coaster ride. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, the whole process is. You know, they say it's a roller coaster. It has a lot of ups and downs, and it truly does.
Right. Now, why did you decide to go to Russia, though? What made you?
Well, I like to say Russia chose us.
Okay.
A lot of countries have age requirements for the parents, marital requirements, how long you're married if you are married, and such. And when I was young, I was 28 when this whole mission started.
Okay.
So most of the countries wouldn't let me adopt, and we were only married about 14 or 15 months. So due to my age and our length of marriage, Russia was the only one that didn't have the stringent age of marriage requirements.
Right.
So
We fit into their criteria.
we fit into their criteria, basically. So
Right.
I say they chose us.
Right. No.
You know?
No. That's great. That's great. And how was the orphanage when you went there? Depressing? What was it like?
We when we went to the orphanage, we felt that the kids were being very well taken care of. I mean, you know, we had no experience in going to a lot of different orphanages, but we felt that the orphanage was you know, from what we saw.
Doing the best they can. Is it a crummy looking building, missing steps, depressed area, no green grass for the kids to play on? Is it what you probably in your head think of? Physically, yes, I would say yes. But when you see the children with their caregivers, because there are many children to few caregivers, but those caregivers truly do the best that they can.
Okay.
And I actually thought I was going to have a harder, when we first met the kids, I thought I was going to have a more difficult time leaving them, and I didn't, which surprised me.
Right.
Because I saw there was some sort of connection and love, and they love those children.
No, but what about the kids? They're seeing you come. They're thinking the fact that, oh, you're going to be adopting me, things like that. That they're expecting that you're going to be taking them home right away. I mean, how did it feel for
I
them?
think they're well prepped. I think they understand. As for little kids I think they're prepped. I think they understand the process a little bit. They explain to the kids that these are going to be your new mommy and daddy, but you know, you're going to meet them, but then they have to go back and do more paperwork and get ready for you, and then come back and bring you home.
Right.
So I think they do a good job.
They
of
try
prepping the
prepping them,
kids.
because all girls were 2 and 4.
Yeah.
So they had some kind of
You mentioned
concept.
where the one was kind of a little bit reluctant in the beginning of kind of warming up to you, and because whether or not maybe she was disappointed that she was supposed to be adopted already, and maybe that might have.
Julia, I think she was the oldest, so she's cautious.
Okay.
She's cautious. She was in charge of taking care of her brother and her sister
Right.
for a long period of time, and then here Doug and I come,
Sure.
and we're trying to baby them and coddle them, and she's kind of like unsure,
Right.
and you can't blame her. I mean,
Sure.
it's a work in progress. They have to learn trust, and but eventually they all warmed up to us, and
Right. No, that's
we
great.
had a great experience when
I
we
think-
were there
Yeah, I think Julia was, forced into a role
at a young
almost like a
age.
caregiver
Yeah.
for her siblings at at
4
4 years
years
old.
old.
Right.
And then here, we're trying to. To us, she's just a little girl, but
Sure.
to her, she's their caregiver,
Right.
and she had a hard time adjusting. Mm-hmm.
And besides the fact that you're loving wannabe parents and how you're it's consuming your life, but it's not only consuming your life, it's also consuming your finances. I mean, honestly, my parents got such a deal for me. They sold their boat, a huge boat that they had in the backyard, for $2,000.
Wow.
This was in 1970, okay?
Wow.
$2,000. I know it can be anywhere from $30 to $50 to $100,000 because, first of all, just the expense that you had to fly there,
Right.
stay there, and that wasn't even to bring the baby home.
Right.
Right.
And I know that I had a girlfriend of mine where she adopted babies in China, and she talked about this. You have to bring cash with you, and you kind of have like a secret
Yes.
stash, which
That
I'm not
is
going to
true.
say where because I don't want to
Yes.
get people, give it away. And she got stopped.
Oh.
And they took it away from her, and was that scary?
It is scary. We knew that was a possibility to be in stop, so we knew to divide. We divided it, so it wasn't enough to cause alarm.
Right.
But you're absolutely
Yeah,
right.
it's
It's a lot of
and she
money.
was in that situation, and I couldn't believe the fact that what?
And again, I mean, I'm going back to our agency.
Mm-hmm.
Our agency was phenomenal. We heard terrible stories when we were in Russia about other agencies and stuff like you're talking about.
Right.
Oh, we need X more money. I'm sorry, you can't.
Right.
Our agency was
Every
tremendous.
step of the way. We had no surprises.
We had no surprises. They
Wow.
walked us through. We can't say enough about
Oh, you
that.
like to? Okay, say the agency again.
It's Wide Horizons for Children. They're located in Oyster Bay.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah,
That's
they're
great.
phenomenal.
Because I do feel bad the fact that you have, again, wannabe parents that want to adopt, but they just don't know where to go.
Right.
And so, based on your experience, maybe
I absolutely. I
Yeah.
write about Wide Horizons in my book, and Charlotte, our social worker. I mean,
Right.
very to this day. It's been almost 10 years. Most supportive people. I can always count on them.
right. No, that's great.
Yeah.
That's great that you had that experience. Because now, if you want to adopt again,
Yeah, we know exactly where to go.
you want to do it?
Come
on, Doug.
Nothing is ever off the table.
You got a defibrillator in there?
Nothing's ever off the table. You never know.
In the book, you also mentioned something about post-adoption depression. If you can explain and tell me more about
That was tough. My whole life, I geared my entire life to wanting to be a stay-at-home parent. I joined the military to have some sort of career. I went part-time in the military to make sure I was available to the children.
Right.
Our home was always geared towards accepting children into our house. So when the children actually came home a few months later, I had everything I ever wanted. I had 3 children. 4th one was waiting for me. My life as I perceived it was perfect, yet I felt like I crashed and burned. I'm
Right.
not like I hit a brick wall.
Sure.
And I didn't know what was going on. I was eating a lot. I was drinking a lot. I wasn't, I was either sleeping too much or not sleeping enough, and everything that I wanted. And here I was crying and yelling, and I wasn't sure what was going on.
I think what was going on was you had 4 kids. Were you getting
Yeah, I had
sleep?
3. I had
I mean,
3.
three-
Yeah, I
three
had the
kids at
3
that-
at that time. Because Jeremy, I had to wait to bring him home.
See, I don't know how the 4th. Again, I don't know how the 4th got into the picture.
We
because as far
adopted the
as-
3 when the agency called. There were the 3 children,
Okay.
So
I almost don't want you to tell me.
Oh, okay. Okay, I won't tell you then.
Because right now I'm only at the
Okay.
with the 2 girls and then the boy,
My
the
son.
brother that was
He was sick, yes.
Right. So I'm only at that part.
Okay,
So don't
but
tell me how you got the 4.
Okay, but I had the 3, and here I had everything, and yet emotionally I was a mess. So one day I started Googling. I said, I have all these symptoms. I brought 3 children home from Russia. I left my full-time job. I lost my independence and my life became these children. And what I realized after several Google pages later, postpartum depression goes to post-adoption depression.
Same thing
It's the
with
same
Shields,
thing,
right? She
same
had that?
thing. And the amazing thing is when we go through the adoption process, we have to take parenting classes. We are taught about reactive attachment disorders and developmental delays that the children might have. Everything, how to help the kids, but we were never taught how to help the parents.
Right.
What can the parents expect emotionally? Because any mom that has a new baby, you love that baby, but you never know.
Right.
You know, sometimes emotionally you go, oh, that's postpartum depression or baby blues.
Right.
Adoptive parents actually can have the same thing, and that's what it was.
Wow.
And once I had a name to my feelings and
Sure.
to how I was feeling, I said, all right, now
I
that
can
I
deal with
understand
that.
what I'm
Sure.
dealing with, I'm able to pull myself up, and Doug,
Yeah, you wouldn't.
he knew.
You wouldn't think that you would have that feeling if being
Exactly.
adopted. You think it had something to do with medically because your body,
Right,
you
right,
know,
and it was
giving birth.
it
Yeah.
was post-adoption
Wow.
depression.
Just because I want your children to hear their names on TV. What are their names?
Julia, she's 14.
Okay.
Ksenia is 12. Zachary is 10, and Jeremy is 9.
Okay, so look in the camera and say, hi,
Hi, Julia, Ksenia, Zach, and Jeremy. Love you.
Also, I was going to say is that how can they be able to get your book? Is there a website you have?
Well, it's on Amazon.com, BarnesandNobles.com, and also melissapandolf.webs.com
Okay,
is my website.
right. So MELISS.
MELISSAPANDOLF.webs.com.
Gotcha. Yeah, and so the transition from going from being a working mom in the military to also nonetheless to stay at home, mom with the 3 children of 4. Is this the dream that you dreamt?
It is now. It
Okay.
is. It is. I am on cloud 9. I have my military career part-time, which is great, but my life truly revolves around the kids, and it's not easy. I'll never say that it's easy because being a parent is the hardest job in the world, as I'm sure you know.
Sure.
But I love it. I mean,
Right.
it's truly what I was meant to be. I fit. It's my path,
that's
and it
great.
works.
And you know what? How do I say this? There are parents, mothers who biologically had children and they don't feel like you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So when you go to adopt, it is a choice to love.
Right.
And that's what you did. You made 4 choices to love.
Yeah.
And so now, is this, Doug, what you thought financially you were what you thought it was going to be?
Fine. It's always a chore. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
no matter how you
Oh, yeah.
look at it, it's up and down. It's tough. It is tough day to day, and financially, it's just what it is.
Right,
It's,
right.
you know,
But whether or not
you never have
biological or whatever,
You never
yeah.
never feel like you have enough money, or you always hear the people, I'm waiting to have a baby because I can't, we
Oh,
can't
yeah.
afford it,
Yes.
but it just leaving. Well, I'm gonna cut your story. Even when going with the 4th sibling, you're like, how do I do this? How do we do it financially?
Also
again?
all at
But
once.
then, in our heads, we looked at it and said, how do we look the other 3 in 20 years and say, well, I'm sorry, we didn't have enough money to bring your brother home.
Right.
So that's
The fact that you kept them together is amazing. I mean, what a blessing is, because like on the one hand, I mean, I don't know my story, but I don't know if I have brothers and sisters. They do know.
Right.
They're adopted and they know that they have brothers and sisters.
And they're growing up and living together.
Yeah.
They have a life together.
that was our goal, really.
Christmas
for them.
morning must be just unbelievable.
It's fun. And it's
know?
my daughter's birthday, Christmas Day.
Oh, see
Yeah.
that?
So,
What a
it's fun.
blessing. What a blessing.
It is.
I just want to thank you so much.
Thank you for
being
having
on
us.
the show, and I just inspired by your story, and I really can't wait to finish the book because I want to know how that first child came about. So I'm just glad, and I just hope that it will inspire other parents who are thinking of adopting and things like that, and to realize that there really are good stories out there.
There are.
Right.
And it's not only with you. I'm also sitting here.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's, you can have a biological child, and sometimes it can be a horror story.
Right.
You know what I mean? So really, it's just a matter of the fact that you guys had a giving heart, and you wanted to do it all at once, which was great. What a blessing. So I also want to thank you, and I always like to kind of give the gift for being on my show, and I also try to, God bless me with so many, over 100 inspirations, so I always try to pick an inspiration that pertains to what we were talking about. And of course, the topic would be adoption from the heart. Over 100 inspirational prints at jeanmarieprints.com. Okay? And it says, you were chosen to be blessed by God to give a loving family the honor of adopting you, to care for you and love you in the best possible way that God could choose for them to raise you. Only God knew that their hearts were going to melt at the first sight of your precious face, and they would try to hold back from shouting out how proud they were to claim you for their very own. Your special day will never be forgotten. It will always be engraved in their hearts and minds, because God knew your life was too precious to lose. Always remember, you were chosen twice in this situation, 4 times in your lifetime, to be loved first by God and then by your new family. You truly must know how special you are. An adopted child doesn't happen by accident, but through the desires of the hearts of loving families. You may wonder in your growing years how different your life might have been had it not been for the love of your family, but never doubt their love, because they will always be by your side. May God bless you in your new surroundings. May He guide your path. Let your life reflect the love He has given to you. And it says in Ephesians 1:5, having predestinated us unto the adoption of children by Jesus Christ to Himself, according to the good pleasure of His will. And it's really what it means here. You were chosen twice in your lifetime by God and then by you guys. Yep. So I want to give this to you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for being on the show.
Again,
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you
for
for
being on the
having
show.
us.
Tell the kids that I say hi.
I will.
And I'm sure they're going to be psyched to hear their names.
They are.
Not to see their parents on the show, but to hear their names on the show.
Names.
Yes. And keep inspired blessings within arm's reach to help give you comfort when others are at a loss for words. Thank you, and God bless.
With man, this is impossible, but with God, all things are possible.